Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 3. Screwing the Council. After an hour of waiting in the third's office, the third walked back inside to talk to the newly married couple, only to find them both sound asleep. Anko leaning back in the chair Naruto had been sitting in with Naruto comfortably curled up like a fox in her lap. Naruto, Anko. The third spoke up, waking the two from their nap. Naruto fell off Anko with a curse, hitting the floor with a thump when she jumped out of her seat. Anko looked around quickly for a moment before she smiled sheepishly when she noticed the third looking at her with an eyebrow raised. Perhaps I don't have to worry too much about them rubbing off on each other after all. The third chuckled to himself, amused at the pair's almost immediate bonding. If it was one thing that brought people together, it was a shared loneliness that they could relate to. "Are you all right, Naruto?" the third asked the boy, who was picking up what was left of his dignity after being unceremoniously dumped on the floor. "Yeah, Gigi, I'm all right." The boy turned to say something to him when the third gasped. "Naruto. What?" The boy jumped back, startled by the third's raised voice. "Your eyes." The third pointed to a small mirror on the wall. The boy turned and nearly jumped out of his skin. His pupils were thin. His eyes were still sky blue, but his once round pupils were nothing but slits now. "I told you you'd most likely start showing fox attributes. I'd keep an eye out for your tail and ears next," Kyuubi spoke up from the corner. "I didn't think it would start happening right now." The boy groaned. His transformation was already starting and it could only cause him more grief once the council saw him. "Come on, Naruto. Anko, we can worry about Naruto's fox parts later. The council is waiting for us." The third led the pair to the council room. Once there he opened the door and motioned for the two to enter. "It's good to see you all are here, council members," the third greeted them all. "Get to the point, Sarutobi," a middle-aged merchant spoke up. "We all know this has to do with the little brat over there, so what is it?" Now Kurokara-san, I think there's a lot more to this than that." The voice belonged to an elderly man who ran the local cloth shops around Konoha. He was also one of the more level-headed of the civilian council. Kurokara glared at the old man for a moment before sighing. "Go ahead then, Hokage." "Very well," the aged Kage nodded. "The fact of the matter is that this meeting is, to an extent, about the young Uzumaki over there." He motioned to the boy in the corner of the room. "Roughly 3 to 4 hours ago, Naruto here was cornered by a mob of civilian villagers who, by witness accounts, tried to take the boy's life. There were several murmurs among the men and women at the table at this. I am sad to announce that those individuals are no longer among the living." There were cries of outrage at this. "Did the boy kill them?" a curious voice asked. Everyone turned to the speaker, the pale-eyed head of the Hyuga clan, Hiashi Hyuga. "Yes," the third stated quickly, but before the rising voices could get louder. "However," he said with a harsh tone, and the council wisely quieted, "the boy had reason to defend himself in this case, and while it still stands that he has killed, I believe a far more interesting event has occurred from this incident, namely the means by which young Naruto here killed those men." There was whispering through the room before the Hokage continued. Due to the stress the boy was placed under, he inadvertently accessed his bloodline. Voices were raised, but again the third quieted them. "I am not finished. As I was saying, the boy here unlocked his bloodline, which, if any of you are wondering, is Hyoden, ice release, but that isn't all. Again, due to the stress the boy was under, it just so happens that the boy unknowingly tapped a bit of the Kyuubi's chakra." He took a moment to let that sink in. The boy is fully aware of what is inside of him as he tapped into the fox's chakra at the same time as his Hyoden bloodline was active, but for reasons currently unknown the chakra mixed in a negative way, creating a feedback which caused that explosion earlier today. "What does this mean, Hokage-sama?" a bored voice asked from the back. The voice belonged to the head of the Nara clan, Shikaku Nara. "Well, I can't really explain without showing you. Naruto, come here a moment please." He waved the boy forward. As Naruto got closer, he noticed a few looks of shock as they noticed his slitted eyes and all but destroyed clothes, but he ignored the glares they shot him and approached the third. "Here, channel chakra like you did before," as he handed Naruto another piece of chakra paper. Naruto held the paper over the council table, and like before, the paper split into 4 equal pieces, each being affected by a different element. Immediately shouting rang out. "What is the meaning of this?" an elderly voice asked. raising his voice to be heard over the others and yet still sounding calm and collected. Danzo, ever a pain in my ass. The third thought quietly before raising his voice. As you can see, gentlemen, the boy not only has an elemental affinity to wind and water, the pair of elements that make up Hyoden, but the other three elements as well. As for the meaning, well, that is the strange part. Due to the boy's accident, as we'll call it, the clashing chakra in the boy's system rebounded and struck his chakra network, instantly vaporizing a good portion of it in the explosion. Impossible, Hisashi interrupted. No human can survive their network being damaged that badly. He should know, the Hyuga were experts on fucking with the chakra network to kill people. Exactly, Hiyashi-sama, no human. This boy, while he is indeed human, has a body that does not follow the same rules in regards to healing. I will admit this now, but both I and Naruto here have had a lengthy discussion with Kyuubi himself on this matter earlier. A small yip from behind the third drew everyone's attention. The third moved out of the way to reveal Kyuubi in all his short fuzzy glory. "Sup humans." The fox hailed them. Shouts of, "The demons escaped," and, "Monster," among other things rang out in the chamber. "Well, fuck you too." The fox huffed and walked over to Naruto to collapse in a puffy ball at his feet. The third sighed and waved a dismissive hand at the council. "Do not worry, the seal still holds. That form the fox is taking is just a bunchen body that it uses to communicate." The council whispered a moment over the fox until the third coughed to get their attention again. "From what the fox explained to me, what has happened to Naruto here is what's known to demon and summon kind as elemental convergence, strictly speaking the converging of elements on an elementally neutral chakra network. During the time while Kyuubi was healing Naruto here, the boy was able to draw in large amounts of elemental chakra from his surroundings, which just happened to be the forest of death of all places. Many in the room paled at the mention of the forest. Even the experienced jonin in the room were uncomfortable with the place. As you all know, the forest of death is anything but normal, so anything the boy absorbed was most likely amplified by his chaotic surroundings, which leads us to the boy's current condition. As it stands, the Kyuubi has told me that the boy at the very least now has access to every one of the base elements, with the possibility of the boy forming multiple elemental bloodlines likely. So any ideas you may have had of getting rid of the boy now would be nothing short of idiotic." The third glared at a few of the civilian council who had been giving the boy and by extension the fox at his feet an evil look for a while now. "If that is the case, Sarutobi, then why do we not have the boy produce offspring that would take full advantage of his possible bloodlines?" Danzo asked curiously. "That, Danzo, has already been taken care of." The third glared at the man. How dare he even suggest doing that to a child? It was disgusting. "Anko." Sarutobi motioned for her to approach. "You all know Anko Mitarashi here, correct?" Many at the table nodded, though not many hid their open distaste for the woman. "Anko here is the one who found the boy and brought him to me. After a brief discussion on the matter which I personally brought up, she has offered to take care of the boy." Several voices of dissent were clear. Silence. "I am not finished," he roared. Anko agreed to take care of the boy, but that alone would not allow her to do so since he is legally an adult. As many of you on the council are aware, he gave each of them heated looks. He had made Naruto an adult only a week earlier to try and protect him when he had learned the orphanage had kicked the boy out. He couldn't take care of him himself due to the council's meddling, but the third had bought and was sustaining a small apartment for the child, and since he was an adult he could legally have his name on the deed. Had he known where the boy was, he would have immediately taken him there, but Naruto had a bad habit of hiding from people, given his life, though that's to be expected. If only he wasn't so damn good at hiding. It had gotten to a point where even his crystal ball could not find him at times. The third sighed. This wasn't going to be taken very well. Since the boy is legally an adult, clanhead and last of his clan, he has made it clear to me that he did not want to be subject to the Clan Restoration Act without his say in who he takes as a wife. I discussed his options with him and we came to an agreement. As of this moment, Anko Mitarashi is now Anko Uzumaki. The two of them are husband and wife. To the third's surprise, there was complete and utter silence. He looked at the council members in the room. There was shock, horror and rage, to name a few of the emotions on the faces of his council. Before any could speak, the third continued. Both of them agreed to this. I have the documentation showing as such, and if you want a second opinion I'm more than willing to let Inoichi-san look through my memories to show that both signed the document of their own free will. Also, Naruto has made it clear that since he is now married he is no longer subject to a council-ordered marriage or conception of a child so long as he is married and has at least one child by the age of 16. Any other women he takes as a wife under the CRA is entirely his choice. Do I make myself clear? The third's voice may have been controlled and even, but the threat was as clear as day to everyone in the room. Many of the civilian council who would have pressed for the boy's death, expulsion or forced a marriage given his new possible bloodlines nodded in agreement. After all, what could they do? The boy had clearly acted in self-defense when that mob attacked him, and even if they could press the issue they wouldn't, not with the potential for a whole new string of bloodlines that could come from the boy. To them he was now even more of a necessary evil. Danzo on the other hand was sitting quietly to the side of things. On the outside he was as calm and collected as ever, but on the inside he was seething. Well played Sarutobi, well played. You knew I would make a pass at the child, as I've pushed to weaponize him on several occasions, but this. I never expected you to convince a child to do something as foolish as this. Foolish, but given the circumstances genius as well. Danzo sighed before glaring at the third and ever so slightly nodding his agreement, thinking to himself, I know when I've been outplayed Sarutobi, I'll back off. For now. The third noticed Danzo's reaction and let out a mental sigh of relief. Danzo's backing down. Good, that means I've won this round. None of the others would dare try anything if Danzo is staying out of it. The third looked at the rest of the council. Sure enough, none of them seemed keen on arguing. If there is anything else any of you would like to add, please do so. The room was silent for almost a minute before the third sighed. Very well, this meeting is adjourned, dismissed. The council rose at the third's words and walked silently out of the room, thinking about what they had just heard. That was fun. The fox yawned. Well, this body is almost out of chakra. Later monkeys. A puff of smoke signified its departure. The third watched the fox go. Naruto, he spoke up, startling the boy from his thoughts. Why yes, Gigi. Naruto fidgeted slightly. His nerves were shot to hell watching the council debate his fate. He couldn't describe the feeling when he realized he wouldn't end up a test subject or a breeding factory. I hope that you are happy with what has happened, he said at length, his voice quivering slightly in sadness. I know I can never apologize enough for not being able to take care of you. Had I the chance I'd have adopted you immediately, but sadly I was never able to convince the council of my intentions. They saw you as a threat, and in my weakness I never confronted that decision, and for that I am deeply sorry. It's okay, old man. I may have been alone, but I never really felt alone when I knew you cared about me. That and the Ichirakus were a big help too. The boy let out an ear-to-ear smile. I bet they were. The third chuckled. Don't worry so much. The boy sighed. I have people who care about me, and that's all I could ever really ask for in life. And besides, I'm technically not alone anymore. Am I, Chan? The boy sent a sly smirk at Anko, who was a few feet away. The girl in question blushed slightly. Ooh, that little bastard, she thought in embarrassment. I'm getting him back for that. Yes, I do believe you're right, Naruto, the third laughed. Though even if you have found someone to stay with, you'll need some decent clothes. After all, we can't have you walking around a beautiful lady in nothing but torn rags. The third nodded to the boy's clothing, which had all but been forgotten. Anko can take you to the Wolf Claw weapon shop tomorrow. An old friend of mine is the owner. I'll have him put it on my tab. Thanks, old man. Naruto hugged him tightly. No problem, Naruto. He chuckled, hugging the boy back. I think it's time for both of you to head home. Anko. Anko walked up behind Naruto and placed a hand on his shoulder. Yes, sir. Come, Gaki. It's nappy time and I need my beauty sleep. Naruto snorted at that before the two of them disappeared in a shunshin. The third sat in the council chambers for several moments, wondering just what the future held for Naruto, before he too disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Ooh. I'll never get used to that. Naruto choked, when the two appeared on the edge of a fenced-in forest. You just need to build up your strength. Your body can't handle the changes in speed yet. That comes with growing up and getting stronger. Anko rubbed her hand through his hair, ruffling the blonde mop and making it spikier than ever. Where are we anyway? Naruto looked around at the forest curiously. Anko smirked. Back at the Forest of Death. Naruto looked confused. What the hell are we doing here for? Well, considering I live here. She trailed off, a grin plastered on her face. Naruto's eyes went wide. Wait, you live here? Guilty. Raising her hand up in front of her in a joking gesture. Any other surprises I should know about? He raised his brow questioningly. Well, she trailed off. I have a fetish for blood. My favorite color is purple. My favorite food is dango. You take my dango, you die, and I have a tattoo of a python on my ass. She ticked each thing off on her fingers. Naruto slapped a hand to his face and groaned. I didn't mean that literally. I'm a very blunt person. She smirked. I can see that. Naruto deadpanned. He sighed. Fine, let's just get to wherever in this crazy forest we're going. Okie dokie. She picked the boy up and chucked him over her shoulder. With a leap at breakneck speeds she jumped into the woods, with him screaming bloody murder all the way. An hour later, roughly 10 of that prying Naruto's fingers from her arm, they were standing in front of the tower in the center of the forest. Home sweet home. Enko nodded proudly, as a flash of lightning and evil laughter came from nowhere. What the fuck was that? Naruto yelled. Oh, you know, just the natural ambiance. She smiled heavily. Wonderful. He sighed, entering the building. As he entered he noticed that the place on the inside, for the lack of a better term, was fucking huge. Wow. He took off running, passing by at least a dozen doors before he made it to the arena area that was used for the Chunin exams. This place is awesome, he yelled out. Hey, I knew you'd like it. It's pretty big, so you really don't have to worry about anybody invading your privacy here. That is until the Chunin exams, and this place is filled with Chunin wannabes for a few days. But that's why my room is at the top of the tower. No one really bothers with going that far up just to find a room to stay when there are so many on the ground floor. She grabbed his hand and took him on a tour of the place, pointing out the large cafeteria and all the bathrooms in the building. The showering area was large too, looking like a gym shower, but that was to be expected in a place like this. Level by level they went up until they were near the roof of the building. Here's our room. She smirked, pointing to a large wooden door covered in seals. Any reason why that door is booby-trapped to all hell? Naruto asked sarcastically. I like my privacy during the Chunin exams, was all she said before walking to the door and channeling chakra into the seal in the middle. Instantly a distinct click was heard and the door swung inward. Welcome to the bird's eye view suite. She laughed, waving her arms in an overly dramatic way. It's one of the 2 ways to the roof of the tower, and this one has a personal balcony to look over the forest with. And yes, I booby-trapped the balcony too. Naruto sweat dropped. Paranoid much? Enko ignored that. Well, since it's already well past the ass crack of midnight, I think it's time to sleep. I'll finally have a use for that other bed now. She trailed off for a moment before noticing Naruto's state of clothing. Oh, I forgot about that. Strip real quick, I'll get you something to wear. As she walked to her wardrobe, back turned to Naruto, who rather reluctantly stripped down to his underwear in front of his bride. Cammy, this is awkward. The boy thought to himself. Ah, here we are. She pulled out an old long gray t-shirt and tossed it to the embarrassed boy, who put it on quickly, only to find the thing was many sizes too big for him. Hell, it looked like a full-length dress on him. Well, that's irritating. Don't worry about it. Do you have a kunai, some rope and a needle and thread? Enko nodded and brought him the things he needed. Naruto immediately got to work. Taking the shirt off, he cut the thing at about the midway point. After that he took the bottom part and cut the lower 2/3 in a V shape. Taking the needle and thread he began sewing either side of the V. The speed at which he was doing this caused Enko's eyebrow to raise. You're pretty good at sewing, Gaki. Not stopping. Naruto grunted. Well, you tend to learn things that make life easier when no one'll help you. There was clearly pain in his voice. He had only been out on the streets for about a month before all this shit happened, but really the streets were a better place than that orphanage ever was. At least on the streets there are plenty of places to hide from the people after you. Not like that helped much really. Enko frowned. Look, kid, I don't pretend to know what your life was like, I lived it. You don't have to keep up this mask of indifference around me. I won't turn a blind eye to you just because you have some giant furball inside you, and to be honest, you're not the only one having to bear a seal and bad memories. Naruto jerked his head towards her. Enko nodded and pulled her coat off of her neck, revealing a small black tattoo on her shoulder. The curse mark. she said slowly. A seal developed by my previous master Orochimaru. He gave this to me when he defected the village, as a memento of our relationship. It gives him power over me, to cause me pain whenever he wants, and the thing throbs constantly. I'm lucky most of its potency is sealed away by another seal, but that doesn't stop it from hurting me, or from other people thinking I'll turn on them at any moment, controlled by some snake bastard. Naruto's face was blank for a moment as he looked at Anko's face. There was genuine sadness there and a bitterness he'd only ever seen in himself. Naruto sighed. It was times like these that made him feel older than he was. A 7-year-old acting like someone triple his age. He dropped what he was working on and walked over to Anko. Without saying a word, he pulled her into a hug. Anko's eyes widened a little. After a few moments, a small smile crossed her face as she hugged him back. It's pretty sad when a woman gets comforted by a child, or for that same child you'll be the one who understands her pain the most. She chuckled bitterly. I know, Chan, I know how it feels, to be alone. But we aren't alone anymore, are we? Hey, I guess not. She smirked as she tousled his hair again. They sat there for what seemed like hours together, just holding each other, letting the other's feelings show through, if only a little bit. Finally they separated, knowing that truly they were no longer alone. Naruto turned back to the cloth he was working on, putting the finishing touches to it. When he held them up to Anko, she snorted in amusement. He had turned the cut-off bottom of the shirt into a baggy pair of pants complete with a rope belt. The top half of the shirt he sewed along the bottom to make a clean edge. All in all, it turned out to be a nice set of clothes for him, at least until he could buy some ninja clothing. Not bad at all. She appraised him. Like I said, knowing how to make things in life easier is a damn good skill. He flashed her a wide smile which she laughed at before they both went to bed for the night, knowing that tomorrow would be a new day. For the both of them. Meanwhile, in an undisclosed location, a pissed-off Danzo brooded. You will rue the day you crossed me, Hiruzen. Danzo yelled out to no one in particular. Rue it. And back to brooding the Uchiha wannabe went, the stolen Sharingan eye behind his bandages spinning fiercely. But first, I must try that new flavor of Pocky I've heard so much about, again yelling at no one. Maybe calling him a Uchiha wannabe was being a bit modest, thought our lovable author as he contemplated seppuku via ballpoint Sharpie. Chapter 4. Shopping with the Snake Mistress. Naruto awoke to a peaceful morning in the Forest of Death. The sounds of birds chirping could be heard all around the tower. Yawning to himself, Naruto dragged his ass out of bed, scratching said ass as he made his way to the bathroom. He opened the door with his foot as he yawned again, not even paying attention to his surroundings as he made his way to the toilet. Once there, he was preparing to take care of business when a cough interrupted him. He turned towards the sound tiredly, not expecting a naked Anko to be standing 5 feet from him with a towel draped over her shoulder. Naruto stared for a moment, too tired to understand the world of shit he was in right now. Then slowly his eyes widened as it dawned on him that he was about to take a piss in front of a fully nude Anko, and she was giving him a look that spelled certain death. Sorry, he began. Anko shook her head no. Owie. She nodded. Eep, he squeaked as the sound of a fist connecting with an overly hard head echoed through the tower. What have we learned? Anko asked, rubbing her hurting fist. What? The brat had a hard head. Naruto wept anime tears as a large whelp rose on his head, knock first before entering. Close enough. She shrugged, still not covered in the least, which Naruto noticed. If the purpose of hitting me was to punish me for seeing you naked, why are you still naked? Anko deadpanned. 3 reasons. 1. I'm not the most modest of people, you only have to look as far as my clothing to see that. 2. We're married, so this really shouldn't surprise you. If it does, use this chance to get used to it. As she opened the shower curtain to the bath, showing a tub large enough for the both of them to bathe together. And 3. I didn't hit you because you caught me naked, I hit you because you just walked in without making sure I wasn't in here, and also because you were staring at my tits the entire time. Naruto blushed. He had been staring a bit south of her face since he walked in. It's not like he could help it though, he was still a guy after all. And not only that, it was the first time he had seen a woman's bare breasts before. Are you getting in or what? Anko asked as she leaned back in the tub. Yeah, He turned back to the toilet and finished peeing, trying to ignore Anko staring at him intently. Big for his age. Good, she silently appraised him. Maybe he could. No bad Anko, no pedo thoughts. She mentally slapped herself as Naruto sunk into the water with her, blushing madly as he sat in front of her. I'll wash your back for you. She smiled, lathering up a bar of soap and scrubbing the boy down. His skin was smooth to the touch, not a mark or blemish on him, but that probably had more to do with the fox than anything the boy did. As she was beginning to lather up some shampoo, she noticed a pair of odd pointy things sticking out of the boy's head. Reaching out, she grabbed a hold of them and immediately Naruto melted in her grasp. She blinked a couple of times, then looked over Naruto's shoulder at his face and noticed his face was bright red, flushed, and was really relaxed. She looked at the points on Naruto's head for a few seconds, then started massaging the tufts of hair, lightly making the boy shiver in her grasp. A wide grin escaped her as she continued her massage. So cute, she giggled. The furball was right, you already have fox ears coming in. I'd say a few more days and you'll have a full-grown set to charm the ladies with. Oh joy, he said sarcastically, shivering some more as she hadn't stopped stroking his ears. Cammy, were they sensitive? Oh, don't be like that. If you're so worried about someone seeing them, I'll teach you the henjutsu to hide what you look like until we can get you a hat to cover them, and if your tail ever comes in we can figure something out as well. She poked the back of his head hard for a few seconds to get her point across. Naruto sighed. All right, as they both enjoyed the bath. In the Hokage's office, we find Sarutobi passed out in a pool of his own blood, the red fluid pouring heavily from his nose. Note to self: do not check on Naruto with the crystal ball in the morning. Not good for my health. The third thought before darkness took him. Back with our odd couple, we find them walking down the main streets of Konoha with the aroma of the market district filling the air. Anko was dressed in her usual while Naruto beside her was in his makeshift clothing with a loose gray hat on that he had thrown together from a belt and some old cloth. Honestly, it looked like a cross between a chef's hat and a beret to him, but Anko thought it looked stylish with the rest of the clothes, so he begrudgingly wore the thing rather than try and fool a village full of ninja with a half-assed hench. Anko looked down at her young husband and noticed his rigid posture. Don't be so tense, kid. As long as you keep that hat on and don't look anyone in the eyes, they won't know the difference, and if someone starts shit, I'm here with you. Some comfort at least, the boy retorted. Anko sighed. The kid was being difficult again. It wasn't that he didn't understand that they could count on each other now, it was the fact that the constant glares the villagers were throwing him were breaking the boy's resolve. Every other villager they passed gave the boy at the very least a look of disgust or anger. Hell, she never had it this bad. No wonder the kid was so depressed. At least I can discourage a few of the glares now, she sighed again, tossing out a small bit of killing intent at a few civilians that were giving him dirty looks. More than a few paled and turned away, which for some odd reason gave her a sick sense of satisfaction. Is it because I'm protecting Naruto? She wondered. It's keeping M off the boy, as she noticed his more relaxed posture. You don't have to do that, Enchan, the boy said quietly. Kid, these people aren't worth your time of day. She frowned. The old man told me that your dream is to be recognized as a great ninja and become Hokage. I can tell you now, just being Hokage won't get you recognition from everyone. There will still be people like this that will glare at you because they are fools and don't know any better. Also, the Hokage is a military leader. That means he is appointed by his military, his ninja. Not the civilians. If you really want to get some recognition, show the ninjas who you are first and the civilians will follow. The boy froze at what Anko had said. Really? He thought to himself. He turned to Anko with a small smile on his face. Thank you, Enchan. Any time, Gaki. The walk to the wolf claw weapon shop from there was in a deep but comfortable silence. Welcome. A cheerful voice greeted them as they entered the shop. Can I help you with anything? The man behind the counter asked. He looked to be a middle-aged man with graying hair and a cheerful face. If anything, he reminded Naruto of old man Ichiraku. Hey Dustin, Anko greeted. We're here for some threads for the Gaki here. Hey, same as always, Anko. He scratched his beard in thought. Yeah, I heard from Sarutobi you were coming by. Said you needed some supplies and a new wardrobe for the runt here. Though I gotta say, when he said your clothes were a mess, I imagined them to be more, well, in pieces. What you have on now doesn't look half bad. PFFT, yeah, the kid here made M from some cloth, an old t-shirt, a belt and some rope. the little guy is pretty damn good. She ruffled said kid's hair playfully. I'll say, that's pretty professional work right there. It almost looked store-bought except for the few seams that are visible. I wouldn't mind having him around the shop fixing a few of the special orders I get. Hey, I'll keep that in mind if he ever needs a job. Yeah, Dustin chuckled, but on to business. What's on the kids' to-do list? I'll help you find anything you want. Sarutobi said to put it on his tab so you can get just about anything you want. Well, we need some scrolls on elemental manipulation, one for each element. Ah, I see the rumors are true after all. Dustin interrupted her. Word is the kid's got all the elements under his belt, am I right? Yeah, Anko whispered, but keep that under your hat. I'd like for those rumors to stay rumors for as long as possible, no need to make things harder on him. You don't even need to ask. I'm a good friend of Sarutobi's, I wouldn't be unless he and I shared views on things, and Naruto is one of the things we see eye to eye on. You're straight with me as long as you don't stiff the bill. Anko chuckled. Hey, as pragmatic as ever I guess. Well, as I was saying, we need scrolls on elemental manipulation, just the basics for now since I've really only ever covered earth manipulation. Dustin nodded. He'll also need some kunai and shuriken, preferably the practice kind if you have M. I don't need him cutting anything off before I can get to it. She raised an eyebrow in his general direction and Naruto could only chuckle nervously. I see the other rumor is true too, Dustin remarked dryly. Under the hat, old man, or it won't be the boy that loses something to a kunai. She growled. Easy, easy. He held his hands in front of him defensively. I have a few sets of practice shuriken and kunai in stock, anything else? Yeah. She punted Naruto in the rear towards the clothing section. Go fetch Gaki. I'm not a dog, Naruto grumbled. No, you're a little fox, now get, before I do that thing I did to you this morning again. She flashed him a hungry little grin. Naruto paled visibly and took off into the rows of clothing. Dustin turned to Anko. Do I even want to know? He deadpanned. Nope. Quote. A few minutes passed before Naruto came back. The two adults in the room turned and their eyebrows rose. Naruto apparently had good taste in clothing. He had somehow found a mesh armor undershirt his size along with a black t-shirt on top with the mesh coming out a few inches under the arms. His shorts were black as well and had orange strips running down the seams on the side. A pair of fingerless black gloves were on each hand and a pair of black ninja sandals on his feet. The gray hat still sat loosely on his head though since there was nothing really loose to cover his ears. He just had to settle for grabbing a roll of black cloth and another belt to make a black one later. For accessories he had a kunai holster strapped to his leg, a ninja pouch on his waist, and on his back was a small tanto, which looked more like a full-length blade on the small boy. Wow, they both said at the same time. Not bad, Gaki. That's a nice look, but what's with the sword? The snake mistress pointed to the blade curiously. I don't really know, I just liked it. I never really had any weapons to practice with and this is something my size. Dustin rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Makes sense, if the kid is going to get used to a sword or blade it's good to start small and work your way up. All right I guess, but you can only practice with it while I'm around. I don't want you cutting yourself with it. Naruto nodded. Dustin marked a few things down on a piece of paper. Okay, you have the scrolls, the training tools and some new clothing and weapons, anything else? Naruto thought for a moment before something caught his interest. Hey old man, could we talk over there for a second, alone? He looked out of the corner of his eye at a frowning Anko. Yeah, sure kid. The two walked to the back of the store for a few minutes, Anko watching the discussion silently. The boy was whispering in the mont's ear so she really couldn't make out what he was saying, but by the way Dustin pulled back surprised and looked in her direction it couldn't be anything good. The two of them walked back to the counter. Yeah kid, I'll get what you wanted, but are you sure? That's a bit advanced for you right now. Yeah, I'm sure. He nodded. Okay, one moment. He walked to the back and opened his storeroom door. After a few minutes of rustling papers and clanging of metal the man returned with a scroll in his hand. Everything is in this storage scroll. Just send chakra into it and the materials will pop out. To store stuff just do the same. As he handed the scroll to the boy. Thanks old man. Hey, for a friend of Sarutobi it's the least I could do. Dustin grinned at the boy. It's all on his tab so don't worry, I'll send him the bill. He. Thanks, he smiled back as the pair walked out of the store. Dustin's smile slowly turned somber as he watched the two walk away through the window. A small yawn from behind him turned the man around. Looking around, he noticed his daughter standing in the stairway to the living area. "Who was that, Daddy?" the girl asked, the buns in her hair bouncing as she yawned again. "Just a friend, Tenton, the son of a good friend, a man who I respected greatly." His voice was quiet as Tenton nodded sleepily and walked into the kitchen. "Minato," he whispered, "your son is going to make one hell of a ninja, I just know it." "Ooh, mind telling me what's in the scroll?" Anko asked sweetly, a little too sweetly. Naruto looked warily at her. "No." He held the scroll behind him. An eyebrow rose. "Why?" "It's a surprise." The boy stuck his tongue out at her. "And we're husband and wife now, tell me what's in the scroll." She whispered angrily. "No." He growled at her and turned away. "Gaki. Just, hey. Get your ass back here." She yelled at him when she noticed he had started running away from her towards a nearby playground. "Oi, you brat, get back here." She chased after him. The chase lasted a good 10 minutes as they ran through the busy market district, and Anko had to admit, the kid was fast for his age. Hell, he was almost as fast as a high-ranked genin, and the way he weaved in and out of crowds of people baffled her. "Hey, catch me if you can," Naruto whispered to himself as he made his way to the playground. He took to jumping from stall to stall as his destination came into view. Almost there, he laughed. As he made a final leap to one of the slides, unfortunately for him he overshot it a bit and lost his footing. "Shit," he cursed as he lost his balance and fell over the edge. "Eep," a voice from below cried as a loud thump sounded. ... Ouch. Naruto rubbed his head as he leaned up on one arm. "Where?" He froze when he noticed a small girl in a similar situation next to him. Hi." He rubbed the back of his head nervously, feeling that his hat had fallen off in the fall. Hello." The girl stuttered. "Hello as well. The name's Naruto, and sorry for falling on ya, I'm kinda being chased by Mayan-chan." Hinata." She poked her fingers together nervously, "and who is NC-chan?" "Gaki. Get your ass out here now," a voice screamed in the distance. Naruto sweat dropped. "That would be her. I don't want you to get in trouble too, so I'll sneak away. Just keep quiet please." He turned away from her, looking around nervous. "Anyo, Naruto-san." "Yeah." He turned to her curiously. Is this your hat?" She held up the thing in question. Yeah, thanks." He flashed her a smile that made the girl feel all fuzzy on the inside as he put the hat on his head. "Thanks for the help, I kinda needed it. You know you're a nice person." He flashed another smile that made her melt. Thank you." Hinata blushed. "No problem. See ya." He jumped over the fence that separated the playground from the road and ran off. "There you are, you brat. Come back here," a voice yelled in the distance. "And Naruto-san." "No. Naruto-kun." The girl thought to herself. "He's nice, not like father, and those ears on his head." The girl blushed again. She had peeked at the boy's head when he was looking around, and said appendages had grown enough to be noticeable above his hair. "So cute." Naruto shivered slightly. "I suddenly feel threatened." He shivered again with Anko not far behind him. Several hours later, top of the Hokage monument, sunset. "Damn it. Gaki." Anko choked out, huffing in exhaustion. "I told you already it was a secret." The boy stuck his tongue out at her with his back to the edge. Apparently the chase had made its way through most of the village and ended on top of the Hokage monument, coincidentally on the head of the Yondaime. "All right already." Anko gasped. "It's a secret, now get your happy ass over here away from the edge." Naruto looked at her for a moment defensively, relaxing slightly when Anko backed off. "Will you promise not to take the scroll?" "Yeah, I promise. Now hurry up." Naruto slowly made his way towards her, keeping the scroll tight in his fist. "Hurry up, damn it," she growled. Naruto approached her warily, keeping an eye on her hands. When she flashed behind him, his eyes flew wide as a fist connected with the back of his head. 2 minutes later. "Okay, I deserved that one," Naruto thought, weeping anime tears. "What have we learned? Again. Don't piss you off." He rubbed the large knot on his head comically. "Close enough." She picked him up by the back of his shirt and brought him to eye level, Scare me like that again and I'll have my snakes tie you up for the day and you won't do jack shit, understand? Yes, Anko-san, he nodded quickly. Good, I'll respect your privacy for that damn scroll, but let's get some dango. Chasing you made me hungry. Wait, and Chan. The boy grabbed her coat. What is it, Gaki? She turned around and crouched low, hearing the pleading in the boy's voice. I'm sorry about scaring you. I didn't just run away to get away from you, I kinda wanted to show you my special place. His voice trailed off as he nervously looked away. Anko turned beet red for a moment, thinking he meant, well, something dirty, but the boy turned away from her and pointed towards the western wall of the village. Anko looked and her voice caught in her throat. In front of her was a view she had never seen before. The entire village was bathed in a crimson sunset. It was too beautiful to even say anything. She only knelt close to Naruto and enveloped him in a hug from behind. Neither one said anything, they just sat there and watched the sun set, turning the world from red to orange, orange to purple, and finally ending in a deep ocean blue that gave way to the first stars of the night. Anko was silent for a long time after that, still holding on to the boy for dear life. Finally her voice, nothing but a whisper, broke the silence, and Naruto. Yeah. He whispered back. Thank you. She squeezed him tighter. A few minutes passed before Naruto spoke. Anko. Yeah, I can't breath. Ah. She replied blankly, releasing the boy, who was turning an unhealthy shade of blue. Sorry. Naruto gasped as she let him go. Don't worry about it. Alright, Gaki. Let's get going. I worked up an appetite chasing your ass around. After we get some food we're going home. Okay, and Chan. He grabbed a hold of the woman's arm and the two of them walked to the nearest dango shop, suggested by Anko. Via sharp pointy her tea things. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.